She never settles for less than she deserves, not because she's arrogant or difficult, but because she understands the value of her time, her heart, her energy, and her dreams. A high-value woman has walked through fire, healed her wounds, rebuilt herself from the ashes of disappointment, and emerged with a deep understanding of what she brings to the table. She knows that settling isn't an act of humility, it's an act of fear. And fear has no place in the life she's determined to create. She doesn't accept half love, temporary effort, or conditional support. She has loved herself through the lonely nights, through heartbreaks, through failures, and she has learned that her worth isn't dependent on someone else's ability to see it. She no longer waits to be chosen, because she already chose herself. She's not looking for someone to complete her, she's already whole. What she looks for, whether in relationships, friendships, or work, is mutual respect, equal energy, shared vision, and honest connection. In love, she's not moved by sweet words unless they're backed by consistent actions. She no longer confuses attention with intention. She's not dazzled by grand gestures that fade after the thrill wears off. Instead, she values the quiet strength of reliability, kindness, and truth. If someone cannot show up for her consistently, emotionally, and respectfully, she walks away, not because she's cold, but because she refuses to pour into a cup that was never meant to hold her love. She knows her heart is too rare to be wasted on temporary people. In her career, she doesn't stay stuck in spaces that devalue her contribution. She knows her intelligence, her ideas, and her ambition are assets. She's not afraid to raise her voice in a room where she's the only woman, and she's not afraid to leave a seat at the table if it doesn't come with respect. She doesn't play small to make others feel comfortable. She challenges herself, reinvents herself, and positions herself for opportunities that align with her purpose. When a door doesn't open for her, she builds her own, and she does it without apology. She also doesn't settle for mediocrity within herself. Just because she's doing well doesn't mean she stops growing. She pushes herself, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, because she knows that true self-worth isn't stagnant. She invests in learning, healing, and becoming better than she was yesterday. She doesn't chase perfection, she chases progress. That's why when life knocks her down, she doesn't stay there. She gathers her strength, her wisdom, and her fire, and she rises again, wiser, stronger, and even more clear about what she will and will not accept. Refusing to settle is not just about rejecting what's wrong. It's about protecting what's right. It's about saying no to anything that threatens your peace, your purpose, or your power. It's about trusting that what you want does exist and being brave enough to wait for it, work for it, and create space for it. It's about recognizing that you deserve more, not because you're entitled, but because you've done the inner work. You've shown up for yourself, you've held yourself together through storms others never saw. So when she walks away from the job that doesn't respect her, the relationship that doesn't value her, or the friend who only shows up when it's convenient to understand this, she's not being difficult. She's just done accepting less. She knows now that settling costs too much, and her peace, her joy, and her power are far too expensive to bargain with. She never seeks validation from others because she has already done the inner work to validate herself. A high-value woman doesn't rely on applause to feel worthy, nor does she need constant approval to believe she's enough. She has learned, often through pain, that seeking validation from others is a game that can never be won. One minute you're praised and the next you're questioned, judged, or overlooked. She has chosen to step out of that cycle and into her own power. This isn't about being disconnected or unfeeling. It's about being grounded in who she is. When she walks into a room, she doesn't scan for who's watching her. She's not performing. She's simply present, confident in her energy, her values, and her purpose. She doesn't dress for the compliments. She doesn't speak to impress. She doesn't post to prove a point. Everything she does comes from a place of authenticity, not a desperate need to be seen or liked, because she's already seen herself. She already likes herself. Validation, for her, is internal. It comes from knowing that she has chosen integrity over popularity, truth over comfort, and growth over approval. That kind of strength is magnetic. It radiates from within. People may admire her for it, or misunderstand her because of it, but she doesn't bend to either reaction. She knows that being misunderstood is often the price of being deeply self-aware. She remembers the version of herself that used to shrink for approval, the one who changed her opinions to fit in, stayed silent to avoid conflict, or tolerated mistreatment just to be accepted. That version of her was not weak, she was learning, but she's not that woman anymore. She's outgrown the need to be chosen by others because she's already chosen by the one person who matters most, herself. In relationships, she doesn't need constant reassurance to feel secure. Her peace isn't dependent on how much attention someone gives her on a particular day. She doesn't beg to be noticed or fight to be kept. If someone truly values her, it will show. If not, she walks away, not in anger, but in self-respect. She knows that when you chase love to prove you're worthy, you end up losing yourself. She has no intention of doing that again. In friendships, she doesn't need to be the center of the group to feel important. She doesn't compete, compare, or conform just to be included. Her circle may be small, but it's solid, built on real connection, not performance. She would rather stand alone in truth than blend in with a crowd that doesn't align with her values. Professionally, she doesn't tie her identity to titles, likes, or applause. She works hard not for recognition, but because excellence is who she is. If she gets acknowledged, great. If not, she doesn't crumble. She doesn't wait for someone to approve her ambition. She gives herself permission. She doesn't need the world to validate her dream when she knows she was born to live it. This kind of confidence isn't built overnight. It's the result of choosing yourself every day, even when it's hard. It comes from doing the inner work, setting boundaries, healing wounds, and showing up for yourself without waiting for a pat on the back. That's why a high-value woman doesn't chase validation, because her foundation is solid. She is not perfect, but she is grounded. She's not unshakable because life has been easy, but because she learned to stand tall through every storm. So when she walks into a room and doesn't seek approval, know this: it's not arrogance, it's peace. It's a quiet confidence that says, I know who I am. And once you truly know who you are, you no longer need anyone to tell you. She never dims her light to make others comfortable because she has fought too hard to find it in the first place. A high-value woman knows what it's like to question her own brilliance, to second guess her power, and to make herself smaller just to fit into places that couldn't handle her shine. But those days are behind her now. She no longer lowers her volume so others can feel louder. She no longer hides her talents, her opinions, or her dreams to avoid making others feel insecure. For too long, she was taught that humility meant invisibility, that being too much would push people away. So she smiled politely, played down her wins, and laughed off her intelligence to make herself more digestible. But what she's come to realize is this: dimming her light doesn't make others brighter, it only makes the world darker. And she's not here to disappear. She's here to be seen, to be heard, to take up space, and to inspire others to do the same. She has learned that it is not her job to manage the insecurities of others. If someone is intimidated by her confidence, that's a reflection of their self, doubt not her worth. She has stopped apologizing for her ambition, her style, her voice, and her success. She knows she can be radiant without being arrogant, proud without being condescending, and powerful without being threatening. She understands now that people who are secure in themselves don't ask others to shrink. They stand beside them and celebrate their shine. When she walks into a room, she doesn't make herself smaller to be accepted. She owns her presence, she speaks with intention, she carries herself with the knowledge that her existence is not too much, it's meaningful. She doesn't water herself down for approval, because she knows that real connection only happens when you show up as your full self. In relationships, she's no longer interested in partners who feel the need to compete with her or control her. She doesn't believe love requires sacrifice of self. She doesn't believe that in order to be loved, she has to be less. A man who truly sees her will never ask her to quiet her voice, abandon her goals, or dull her spirit. He will stand in awe of her fire, not fear it, and until she finds that, she's happy to stand on her own. In friendships, she no longer surrounds herself with people who mistake confidence for arrogance or success for selfishness. She has no time for energy that dims hers. She wants to be around people who clap loudly when she wins, who hold her accountable, and who encourage her to grow even bigger, because she does the same for them. She's not afraid of other women shining next to her. In fact, she loves it. She understands that there is enough light for all of us, and when one woman rises, we all rise. In her work, she brings bold ideas to the table without hesitation. She speaks up, takes initiative, and leads with clarity, not to dominate, but to contribute fully. She's tired of pretending she doesn't have something valuable to offer just to avoid being labeled as too assertive. She's not here to fit in, she's here to elevate. And that starts with refusing to play small for the sake of comfort. She has come to understand that shrinking herself does not serve the world. When she stands tall in her truth, she gives others permission to do the same. Her light doesn't blind, it awakens, it inspires. It reminds people of what's possible when you stop hiding. So no, she will not dim her light, not for love, not for approval, not for anyone. She knows now that her light is not a burden. It's a gift, and she's finally ready to let it shine all the way. She never competes with other women because she understands that real power isn't found in comparison, it's found in connection. A hive, you woman knows that another woman's success is not a threat to her own. She doesn't view life as a zero, some game where someone else's rise means her fall. Instead, she believes in abundance. She knows there is room at the table for every woman who dares to show up, speak out, and chase her dreams. She wasn't always this way. Like many women, she once felt the pressure to compare herself constantly. Her looks, her progress, her relationship status, her achievements. Social media didn't help. It created the illusion that every other woman had it all figured out, while she was just trying to keep her head above water. But comparison drained her, distracted her, and dimmed her. She realized that no one wins in a game where you're measuring your worth by someone else's timeline. So she decided to stop playing that game. Now, when she sees a woman succeed, she doesn't get envious. She gets inspired, because she's secure in who she is and what she brings to the world. She knows that someone else's light doesn't make hers any dimmer. A woman landing her dream job doesn't mean she won't land hers. A woman in a loving relationship doesn't mean she's any less lovable. A woman with confidence doesn't mean she can't have hers too. The more women rise, the more she believes she can too. She understands that women have been conditioned for centuries to see each other as rivals. Society often pits them against each other over beauty, status, love, even attention in a boardroom, but she sees through that. She refuses to participate in that narrative. Instead of competing, she collaborates. Instead of tearing down, she builds up. She believes in sisterhood over jealousy, support over sabotage. Her friendships with other women are deep, meaningful, and free from hidden agendas. She doesn't gossip behind their backs or celebrate their failures in silence. She shows up for them with open arms, honest words, and fierce loyalty. If a woman is hurting, she's there to lift her. If a woman is shining, she's the first to clap. She knows that strong women don't compete. They connect. In her professional life, she mentors instead of mocks. She shares her knowledge freely because she wants to see other women thrive. She remembers how it felt to be the only woman in the room, unsure if she belonged. So now, she makes sure other women know they do. Her confidence isn't fragile. It's rooted in self-awareness and a deep sense of purpose. That's why she doesn't fear other women succeeding around her. She celebrates it, knowing that their wins make way for more doors to open for everyone. She also doesn't compare her path to someone else's because she's learned that every journey is uniquely designed. Some arrive early, some arrive late, but everyone arrives on their own time. She's at peace with her pace. She's no longer racing anyone. She's focused on alignment, not approval. She knows that being in competition with another woman only distracts her from her own growth, her own vision, her own evolution. And if she encounters a woman who is still trapped in the mindset of competition, she doesn't meet that with bitterness, she meets it with compassion. Because she knows that kind of thinking usually comes from pain, insecurity, or a lack of self-worth. She doesn't feed that energy. She leads by example. She's not here to outshine anyone. She's here to light up the whole sky and bring every woman willing to rise along with her. Because when one woman stands in her power, it gives every other woman permission to do the same. That is the kind of competition she believes in, the kind where we all win. She never loses herself in a relationship because she understands that love is not about losing your identity. It's about bringing your full self to the table and being embraced for exactly who you are. A high-value woman knows that true intimacy doesn't require self-erasure. It doesn't ask her to silence her voice, dim her dreams, or abandon her essence. If she has to shrink to fit into someone else's life, she knows that's not love, it's confinement. And she refuses to live in a cage even if it's wrapped in affection. In the past, she may have made that mistake. She may have given too much, bent too far, or sacrificed pieces of herself just to hold onto someone who wasn't ready to meet her halfway. She may have confused compromise with surrender and thought that proving her love meant losing herself in someone else's world. But she's not that woman anymore. She has learned, and now she loves differently, wiser, deeper, and without forgetting herself. She enters relationships as a whole person, not a half looking to be completed. She doesn't need someone to fill a void or fix her. She has already done the work to know who she is and what she wants. She brings love, strength, and value to the relationship, and she expects the same in return, not in a transactional way, but in a mutual, respectful, and emotionally mature exchange. She's not interested in fairy tales. She's interested in real connection, one where both people stand tall in their individuality while choosing to walk together. She has dreams, goals, and passions that are hers alone, and she nurtures them no matter who she's with. She doesn't put her life on pause for anyone. She doesn't wait around hoping someone else will make her feel seen or worthy. She already sees herself. She already knows her worth. That's why she doesn't allow love to consume her. Because real love doesn't demand that. Real love coexists with independence. It celebrates it. She also sets clear boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect the space where she continues to grow. She doesn't disappear into someone else's needs while neglecting her own. She makes space for partnership without abandoning her sense of self. Her boundaries are not walls. They are invitations to connect in a healthier way, and anyone who truly loves her will understand that. Because someone who wants to control her isn't offering love. They're offering possession, and she refuses to be owned. In her relationships, she is loving but not dependent, vulnerable but not naive, giving but not sacrificing. She communicates openly, listens deeply, and offers loyalty without losing her balance. She supports her partner's growth and expects the same. If the relationship starts to cost her peace, her joy, or her identity, she's not afraid to walk away. Not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. She knows that leaving is not failure when staying means forgetting who you are. She doesn't romanticize struggle or settle for one-sided effort. She doesn't stay out of fear of being alone because she's already made peace with solitude. She knows that being single and whole is better than being in love and lost. And if she finds a partner who truly sees her, values her, and grows with her, she will love them deeply, but never at the cost of herself. Her love is strong, but so is her self-awareness. She can be in love and still chase her goals. She can be committed and still remain curious, creative, and evolving. She doesn't see love as the end of her journey. It's simply a part of it. A high-value woman never loses herself in a relationship because she knows The most important relationship she'll ever have is the one she has with herself. And she refuses to break that bond for anyone. She never stops evolving because she understands that growth is not a destination. It's a lifelong journey, a you woman is always becoming. She is constantly shedding old layers, challenging old beliefs, and stepping into new versions of herself. Not because she isn't already enough, but because she knows that life is meant to expand her, stretch her, and shape her into someone wiser, stronger, and more aligned with her purpose. She refuses to stay stagnant. Comfort zones don't appeal to her for long because she knows that nothing great grows there. Even when things are going well, she asks herself, what more can I learn? How can I grow from here? She doesn't seek change for the sake of chaos. She seeks it for the sake of becoming more of who she truly is. She believes in evolution not just in her outer world, but within her soul. She's not afraid of starting over, whether it's in her career, her relationships, or her mindset. Reinvention doesn't scare her, it excites her, because each chapter of her life teaches her something new. She doesn't cling to old versions of herself just to keep others comfortable. She understands that growth sometimes means outgrowing people, places, and patterns that once felt like home. And though it may hurt, she trusts that every letting go is making space for something greater. She is always curious, always learning. She reads, she reflects, she listens deeply. She's not afraid to admit when she was wrong or when she doesn't know something. In fact, she welcomes it, because she sees wisdom not in having all the answers, but in staying open to discovering them. She believes that true strength lies in humility and in the willingness to evolve again and again. Her evolution is visible in how she handles challenges. Where she once reacted, now she responds. Where she once resisted, now she reflects. She has learned to pause before speaking, to observe before judging, and to forgive not just others, but herself. Her growth has softened her edges without making her weak. It has sharpened her mind without making her hard. She is both fire and water, fierce and flowing, bold and balanced. In her career, she is not content to remain in one role simply because it's familiar. She dreams big, sets goals, and pivots when necessary. She invests in herself, whether it's learning new skills, taking risks, or seeking mentorship. She understands that success is not a one-time achievement, but a continuous process of leveling up, staying inspired, and refusing to settle. She leads with vision, not ego. In her personal life, she's intentional about surrounding herself with people who encourage her growth. She doesn't entertain relationships that keep her stuck. She seeks depth, not drama. She thrives in conversations that challenge her perspective, not just echo her opinions. And if she finds herself in an environment that no longer aligns with her values, she doesn't hesitate to evolve past it. She honors her growth even when others don't understand it. She also evolves in how she treats herself. Where she once was her own harshest critic, now she's becoming her biggest supporter. She speaks to herself with kindness, sets healthier boundaries, and gives herself permission to rest and rise again. She honors both her progress and her process, knowing that transformation isn't always pretty, but it's always worth it. She never stops evolving because she knows that her potential has no ceiling. She was not born to stay the same. Every version of her has served a purpose, but none of them are the final chapter. She is ever changing, ever growing, and ever eaching toward her highest self, not to prove anything to the world, but because she owes it to herself to become everything she was meant to be.